wipe it off and reset here. Locked myself out. Washy, washy. What's up, guys? Today we're going to be testing out a product here. It's called Flex Glue. You've probably seen the infomercials running around the internet and all over TV. And I went to the hardware store and I picked up these little guys right here. So we're going to see if we can somehow bind these studs inside of the edge here, so then we can put P-clips for our wires to go safely into this hole that we made. And we want to keep these wires tucked up in here. And I was trying to think of a way to do it, so I figured, why not, you know, chemical weld some studs and then put some P-clips on. So we're going to go ahead and give this stuff a shot and see if it lives up to its claims. Got some silicone carbide sandpaper here. And I want to put them off to the side, so in case the tire does come up and hit, I want to minimize the amount of stuff that gets damaged when the tire comes all the way up. You know, we might as well chew these up a little bit too. Handy dandy brass picks here. All right, now let's see if that lasts. Unfortunately, we're not going to find out until after it cures, which is 24 to 48 hours. So we'll just have to wait and be patient. Put this guy on there so I don't lose it. So let's set that aside and let that cure. All right, so we got the bike up here on the stand. It is ready to be put back together. I am going to let that glue cure until until that's done. I'm not going to worry about that, but for now, we're going to go ahead and put in our temperature sensor, which is this little guy right here. Yeah, we're just going to pop this puppy in there and get cooking. All right, so we're going to put the water temperature sensor in this hose because this is actually coming out of the engine and into the radiator. So in order to accurately measure the engine temperature, you're going to want to get to the hose that is exiting your engine, because that is what is being heated by your engine. So makes sense, right? All right, as you can see, this part right here is going to displace this much hose. So I'm going to have to make two cuts in order to make this fit while the hose route doesn't get affected or pushed up to one side or kinked. Also, if you're wondering how I was able to clean all the dirt and muck that's embedded in this hose, best way to do it, wash it with soap and water and then hit it with a little bit of WD-40 on a rag. Takes it all out, re-beautifies it, and makes it look brand new again. Lubricate your blade with a little bit of WD-40 if you're cutting rubber, because then it'll just glide right through. There we go. All right. So now that we got that cut, got our wire hanging out, we're gonna go ahead and fit her up. All right. I'm gonna just cinch all these guys down. You start splitting your hose up, then put our rectifier is going right into the bottom of our hose there. We're gonna have to relocate that rectifier. This tank looks terrible. Oh, hey, kitty. What do you think, man? Okay, let's melt the tank. Okay, Okay, so the reason why I didn't go through this little hole right here inside of the airbox is because your seat, this little block right here, has got to mount into there. This right here might be a problem. Yep, so we're going to go ahead and cut this corner off. Modify. All right, so what do we have here? Ooh. Picked up a Boyson water pump. We're going to go ahead and install this. If you haven't done so already, I suggest draining your fluid before you do this. Or not. You know, it'll just be a nice little surprise. Go ahead and break those loose. Loosen the hose clamp. All right. You're going to want to put a new seal in this guy here. So if you must use a lubricant on your O-ring, if you don't feel comfortable just dry fitting it onto your component, use Vaseline. This stuff is okay in your water system, and it's also okay in your oil and fuel system. I mean, you don't want to glob it in there, but if it has to be exposed to system fluids, Vaseline is the way to go. You're just going to work it in. Wet the surface. And slap her on in there. So you have these little notches. I don't know if you can see that. These little notches hold it in. Just kind of want to lightly press your O-ring into those notches. Now we got to take off our old impeller, which I always hate this part. Just gonna go ahead and get this sucker. And there we go. Wow, that was way more of a pain than it should have been. Great. Now this is stuck in there. There we go. Give it the old slappity-doo-dah. Now you want to reuse your washer. Little washer that came off behind there. Alright, stock washer goes on first. So we're just going to go ahead and pop that back onto the shaft. Also going to look at our seal, make sure our seal is good. This one looks fantastic, so won't be replacing that. We'll go ahead and wipe off our sealing surface for our O-ring. Okay, now we're going to take our new impeller, wherever that is. Damn it. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, here it is. I'm just going to take our new impeller, thread her on in there. We're going to tighten it. You know, I'm going to clean up this hose a little bit. She looks a little gross. Make sure you clean your hose. Magical method. Now you don't want this inside the hose, you just want it on the outside. I don't know why this stuff works so good. And even after it dries, you know, it just looks clean. The dog is angry. I won't let him outside because I got paint drying and I don't want him being curious, sticking his nose in it. He's definitely pissed about that. Definitely not happy. Just make sure I didn't get anything on the inside there. And there we go. Give things a little wipe down there. Oh wow, this hose does not want to go on there very easily. Vaseline, Vaseline. Just a little bit, just a lube. Just a lubricate. Little dab will do ya. And there you go. Slid right on there. There we go. Alright, before you tighten anything down, just make sure your O-ring is still seated. Don't want that thing popping out on you. And there you go. You just gotta tighten up the hose clamps and then it'll be ready to rock. Just make sure everything's sitting nice and relaxed. Exactly where it should be. And there you have it. There is your new water pump. It's clamped on, hose is cleaned up, and we're ready to put some fluid back into the bike. Alright, here I got a bucket of water. The reason why I use a clean white bucket is so, you know, I did fill this from the hose. I want to make sure there's no grit or any kind of sediment in there. That's probably good for now. It's a pretty color. We're just gonna slowly dump her on in there. Oh man, that's cringy. I don't want to do it, but I gotta do it. What's up, man? You having a good time? So now that we got those all sanded, we need to give them a really good wash with a good degreasing soap. Just dish soap or whatever will work. I locked myself out. No! Washy, washy. Get in there nice and deep like. So we did a test dip yesterday on this guy right here, and the dip didn't stick to it very well, so we decided to stop, and we're going to switch directions. First we're going to prime it in this 2-in-1 black primer, some Hot Rod Black Satin 2K paint, and then we're going to finish it off with some Clear Glamour 2K primer. We're going to go ahead and paint these up and see if it works. So this stuff right here is supposed to stick to the polypropylene, and then the Hot Rod Black is going to stick to the primer, and then the hydrodip is going to stick to the Hot Rod Black, and then the clear coat is going to finish it off. We're just going to dust it really lightly for the first coat. I'm starting on the back side of the fender. Oh no, we're getting splatters. Didn't get mixed up very well. Wipe it off and reset here. This part right here, I sanded a little bit with 80 grit because I had a bunch of stickers on it. So it's gonna have a little bit of a rough texture. So I'm gonna build up the paint, sand it down, build it up again. Hopefully we can smooth that part out, because I really don't want any imperfections or defects showing through the hydrodip once we get to that step. Gotta shake it. Got our fender complete with our little studs that we fixed on there. So just a recap on the glue that we used, that Flex Seal, one of them came off, the rest of them didn't. Like, so I would say it's 3/4 good. So remember, I'm only going to be hydrodipping the areas that you're going to be able to see when it's mounted up on the bike. There's no sense in hydrodipping stuff that you're not going to see. Got to get down inside the holes really quick. Hit those first. Holding this really close to my face. So that's it for the first coat. Now we're going to let this dry for about 10 minutes. Dry at the same time, 15-20 minutes. Cool. It's been about 20 minutes. It's a little cold outside, so I gave it a little extra time. I mean, it's got some shadows in there, so I think it's not quite dry yet. All right, so our first coat is dry. I went ahead and moved all the parts to direct sunlight. We're gonna go ahead and do the second coat. Fresh can. Gotta shake it. What's up? Okay, so using some 320 grit sandpaper, I went around and I looked for any blemishes inside of the primer. And let me just throw that on the ground. I did hit a few spots, like right here on the side, because I ended up using 80 grit as a test. And like what most products, you know, especially when you're dealing with chemicals or anything that creates permanent damage, they'll say test in an inconspicuous place. Well, when I did this little test, I decided to do it right on the front of the front fender here, which is probably the worst place to test something out. So if you're going to test something out, do it on the inside. But I went ahead and sanded it with some 320, and it's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and coat these a third time. Like I said, like I went through and sanded some spots. I mean, it was pretty nominal considering that I'm doing this outside and it's not exactly a warm day. So anyways, yeah, let's go ahead and knock out a third coat. All right, we're all primed up and ready to go. So we're gonna do our final top coat with some Spray Max 2K Hot Rod Black Satin. We're just doing this for the dark black color for the undercoat for the hydrodip. So this right here is something you gotta shake it up for 2 minutes. Take this little guy, stick it on this little bit on the bottom, then you puncture it, and then you shake it for another 2 minutes, and then you spray. You have 24 hours to use this once you pop this bottom, so be prepared to do the work as soon as you mix this up. Leave the lid on, got your little red button there. There we go. Got to push kind of hard. And you mix for 2 minutes. All right. We are ready to lay some color. We got enough to do a second coat. I'm just gonna wait for this stuff to dry and then we'll hit it up if we need to. Our second coat is done. That was all we have left. So now we are ready to do hydrodip, and then after hydrodip, we're gonna do let's say 4 coats of clear, and yeah, and then we can install them on the bike, and then we'll be styling.